Yo, what is going on, my fellow weebs? Corner here, and welcome back to the channel. So it's been a little while since we've done one of these videos. How strong is it actually? We're actually going over the new stage to our, I'm going to call them Arbaradio Series weapons. I don't even know what I want to call them. We got Spradio, Leafladio. Now it's like Arbaradio or something along those lines. I'm not trying to exactly pronounce them. It's the leaf weapons. It's the third tier of the leaf weapon. It's the next upgrade that's available to us. How strong is it actually comparatively to, of course, our other options? The Archie has been up there forever, so on and so forth, and everything in between. Before we jump into that, of course, like I mentioned, I'm Chrono. I cover primarily PSO2 content. I will ask you to do all of the YouTube things if you want to help out, like subscribe. It makes the whole, like, that little button lights up when I say subscribe. I'm not sure if that worked last video, but I'm gonna say it again, subscribe. Maybe it works, maybe it doesn't. You have to let me know in the comments either way. But enough shilling. Let's go ahead and start the video. All right, so apologies for the flashbang, but if you're only here for the direct comparison, you want to know exactly the numbers, blah, 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 blah. Well, here it is. Baseline right now I'm showing you off is the Archie, the Spradio 6% behind that, the Leafladio being about 4% behind that, and the Arbaradio being roughly 1.75 or about 2% behind the Archie. Pretty much exactly what I assumed would end up happening in the situation itself. Of course, different potencies, or sorry, different setups are going to go ahead and offer different, different bonuses, ups and downs. 50%. Let's see, I guess technically speaking, if you want to do a little bit of comparison, this Spradio is about 40. Ooh, what was that? About 48% over the default options you can get, and you can get these almost for free at this point. So let that go ahead and do that for you. But if that's all you're concerned about, hopefully this helps out for anyone who's curious about it. If you want to know exactly how we got to what we're going into, what the comparisons are, exactly what the actual build setup is, and what my recommendations are, stick around. Oh yeah, if you aren't here for any of those things, you just want the information, at least like the video, it helps. Maybe throw a comment in, like I dipped out early, play a little fun lesson with me. Watch time is important, but I'm not trying to waste your time here today. Now, for those of you guys who follow the channel, my current setup I've been rocking is an Archie weapon. You can see the actual setup here. It's not exactly what I'm going to be going over today, but it is pretty close. We do know that we've got Roddy's replacement on the horizon. Yours is currently that replaced the previous one. We do have Roddy's replacement on the horizon. And while the calculator does have a couple of things that aren't really available at the moment, there are a couple of projected things, some data mines, some things like that here and there. The reality of the situation is that it's mostly what you're comparing is the damage between two weapon types, and those are going to be equal amongst that. It's nothing that has like crit rate or anything along that you have to be too worried about as far as the damage or the potential of the individual weapon. Now, in the case of this weapon series, we can actually take a look here. Unfortunately, they haven't updated the Visiphone. I feel like this thing is running on skeleton crew, to be honest. But unfortunately, I haven't updated the Visiphone, but we can get some of the information just pieced together based on the calculator, thanks to Cakewalk, as well as the Visiphone itself. So from what you understand of the actual potential, they've just been adding on to the potential that exists here already. Nothing too crazy. That last time we got a bit of extra potency. This time around, what we got is a bit of extra potency, and there's also now a heal built into it as well. So if you're running anything that procced off of your HP changing or having an extra heal built into there, the next series, the Arbaradio or whatever it's called, I will have the name right on the screen itself as well as the thumbnail, but recording this actively, I can tell you, but Spradio or something along those lines. Essentially, it just added an extra heal, and then of course they increased its potency up to 60%. Now, for these guys who follow these things very closely, these usually tend to be the most important numbers, that actual potency here, and then the base damage of the weapon. The base damage, from what I understand of the Arbaradio, is very close to the Archie. I believe it's like a point or two off at this point in time. And as you can see, the percentage is only that of 60%, 3% behind Archie. So these numbers you're about to see are going to make sense based on those things together. So what are we actually comparing? So what we went ahead and we did was we have a setup with the Spradio at attack 3. This is the wrong one, I'm sorry. There we go. I have right now is my Archie selected at attack 5. That's correct. And then of course, more or less the exact augments I'm using right now, which is basically current and best in slot of what is currently available. I know this is Ardent Dreadkeeper 2. I'm not sure why it says Dreadkeeper 2. It is the stats of the proper Ardent Dreadkeeper. As you can see here, it's 3.75 to 7% floor. If we were to go over here, we take a look at this. Not what I want to do. 3.75. 7 there. So you can see it is correct. I don't know why it's weird here, but it is what it is. No big deal. Either way, so this is more or less the setup that we're going with here. And then the comparison over on the right. So as we showed earlier in the video, you can see that baseline damage wise between the Spradio all the way up to Arbaradio, it's only about a 2% difference. We have our baseline being the Archie, but the thing you have to keep in mind too is this isn't the best case scenario for the Arbaradio. In situations where you're running, like, let's say full potency build, you can see that the damage difference starts to become a little bit different. All right. So in the case of the Spradio versus the Arbaradio, I'm sorry, the Spradio versus Leafladio and going upwards, you can see the damage differences tend to be a little bit closer, not by much, but the reason for it is because of the crit rate that's built into the Arbaradio series. These have an extra 5% crit rate, so they're going to favor usually situations where you're closer to like a crit rate like breakpoint, especially in situations like this. As you can see here, the Arbaradio actually takes over a little bit in the case of the Termina weapon. In Termina's situation, Termina being built for crit damage or for crit damage as opposed to crit rate, you find yourself in a situation where things are much closer. It's kind of hard to tell in with these numbers the way they're built out, Liz. So you can just go ahead and swap this over. You guys can get a direct comparison. So let's go ahead and swap over, like, say Fatale 5, right? So we go to Fatale 5, you can see the direct comparisons, right? It's a little bit closer in the case of Fatale 5, right? Not by much, but like by like 0.05 or something along those lines. It's not a lot. It's a little bit. You can jump over to Termina and see a little bit of a difference here too. In the case of Termina, you can see that the damage difference is substantially closer. It is much more in favor of Arbaradio because of that extra crit rate that is built into the weapon. And on top of that, you add any other crit rate from any other sources, which you will find people running things like TWAB and so on and so forth. The Arbaradio is actually a solid choice of a weapon now comparatively to something like the Archie. Now the Archie does have other things that affect it as well. That's going to make it more powerful. This doesn't really accommodate specifically well for the increase to your PB that you have access to. You're going to get your PB back faster because of the Archie's potential. We can pop over and I can show you that. So we take a look at Archie potential. So we have things like PP consumption plus 50%, max PP plus 50 to a maximum of 500. For every 250 PP spent, receive the following effects based on max PP. Max PP plus 300, you get PB gauge on attack plus 20%. At 400, you get PB plus 50% on activation. And PP plus 500 cooldown minus 10 seconds and starts 10 seconds after equipped. So you do get other benefits on top of that as well as the larger amount of PP pool that you have to work with that can't really be conceptualized into damage directly, which is what's going to keep Archie ahead of something like this new weapon that's available. However, if you're just looking at pure potency wise, the Arbaradio starts to come pretty close. So with the current Slayer changes, where Fix Determina tends to be Slayer's kind of like number1 go-to. And I mean, to be fair, I'm also kind of weighing this a little heavier in the Termina situation because I am sub Slayer. Or to go something like, I don't know, sub Tector, for example, you see the numbers will change ever so slightly. Not by a lot, but by a little bit. Sometimes it's worth taking a look at it here. But you can start to see that something like Arbaradio does start to come a lot closer to that Archie, at least in pure potency situation. You guys are probably looking over here, but Shimmer, what about Fix Bandak? This is working with theoretics that don't exist currently in the game, so I'm not even going to go down that path. And it also requires a very specific build. If you're running a Bandak, you don't need my videos. Is usually the situation itself. If you're full on a Bandak, you're full on a Bandak. That's just how it goes. There really isn't any other like notable thing I would mention here in the situation itself. It's pretty much just Arbaradio is starting to become a better choice overall. If you're someone who does not build for absolute best in slot, you're just trying to keep up with the trends and not break the bank, this is the series for you in the first place. So this is actually very, very good. This is a lot closer than we've seen these series come in the past. I don't foresee this going any higher. I think Arbaradio is actually the end of this series, and we're probably going to start to see a new one come up fairly soon. We did also just get a new unit series, and I do plan to go ahead and release a video talking about what I recommend 90% of the player base, actually, honestly, 95% of the player base build, because most people aren't really running things like Arcs Records, and those who left are still running Arcs Records. Even those people aren't really running Arcs Records anymore because of the content, or the gear treadmill being a little bit too rough at the moment. And I don't blame them, honestly. Stuff's expensive, and we don't get nearly enough benefits out of running something like best in slot, costing upwards of like 100 mil to 150 mil consistently. it just isn't worth it for a lot of people. And I recognize that, and honestly, I kind of want to lean into it a little bit more for you guys. So we'll be coming out with that build overall relatively soon. But if you're someone who's curious about the Arbaradio series, this is a very good series. Even if you're coming in late, I know some people like, oh, well, it's near the end of its series. You can transfer off these weapons for free. When you're transferring off of these weapons, it doesn't cost anything to transfer all of your augments off of these weapon types. You get to do this for free. If you continue to do this for every single series, which they've mentioned, they will always have a series like this, you will never have to worry about re-augmenting your weapon. These are basically the ultimate auxiliary / medium spend style weapons in the game. Like it's kind of the best value that exists in the game. I know Spradio existed right when Archie came out, and Spradio, when it first released, wasn't even really stronger than things like the Zenith at the time. It was actually falling behind those. Or the Zenith upgraded at the time was falling behind those weapons. But once you hit the very end, which we have for Arbaradio, you'll find that it's very, very powerful choice, and it can be depending upon how it's built. So as far as building it, it's just building for damage. You have the extra crit rate, so I would highly, highly recommend, if you don't have a specific subclass you're tied to, Sub-Slayer is a good choice for sure. Especially right now for Slayers in general. Slayers are living a very comfortable life, especially with something like the Arbaradio, giving that extra 5% crit rate. It's not a whole bunch that you're going to go over crit with a bunch of extra things with it, but it's kind of free along with what you're doing anyway. But it's going to still give you a bit of a bump when you're looking at things like Termina. That's pretty much all I've got for you guys today. If there's anything I missed, feel free to let me know in the comments below. Again, apologies, these videos have not been coming out recently. To be perfectly honest, I hit a bit of imposter syndrome when it comes to Phantasy Star content. People have watched my content for a long time. They know, like, I've done a lot of these things in the past. I've done this for a very, very long time, and it's difficult to see the things that I've seen recently, especially with dealing with some of the difficulties that have existed in the community in the first place. So I don't want to go into specifics or anything along those lines. What was me, blah, 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 this, blah, 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 that. Not really my sort of thing, but I will be pushing these forward again. I want to get back to doing these videos for you guys. I mean, people have started asking for them, and I mean, it may have been one comment that I saw that really kind of pushed me into doing this again, but that's all it really takes. So hopefully, to that guy who was looking for this video, I'm recording this and getting this out on the same day. So fingers crossed you happen to see it, and this does help you guys out in the long run, and we will be seeing how this works out or how this shakes up with the new units on the horizon. And for those of you guys, like I said, a little extra tidbit for those of you guys who watch to the end of these videos, if you're curious of like, what should I be doing, build the Arbaradio series, and then chill with the Arbaradio series. A new unit series is about to come up, and we have a new augment that's on the horizon that's going to be replacing the, what is it, the Yours augment? I forget what it is, the Radi augment, right? Yeah, you're getting Yudi that replaces the Radi augment. So Radis are being replaced at the beginning of next month, not this month, beginning of next month. And we have a new set of units that are on the horizon. So just be prepared to build those ones up. And I'll be showing you guys exactly how to set yourselves up in a good way that's going to keep things fairly cheap, and you still be very, very strong. Either way, thanks for watching the video, guys. Appreciate all of you guys who support on either on the YouTube side or on the Patreon side. Both are fantastic individuals. I love every single one of you. And I will see you all in the next video. Take care, my friends. Peace out.